Hello everybody. Today we shall discuss about state public administration perspective. State is a complex concept connoting wide range of parameters that attempt to define it. But somehow there is no consensus on any definition of the state. The theorists have not been unanimous about the state's nature, structure, functions, and behavior. Though the term state found an inclusion in the political vocabulary around as late as 16th century, there have been oblique references to the very idea of state all through the evolution of human civilization. Be it codified laws, shared norms, kinship, chiefdom, political system, sovereign authority, or divine monarch, these terms have hinted at some or the other form of governance which came to be gradually defined as the state. The definition of the state has premised itself on divine, ethical, and legal notions in the course of its evolution. Many scholars feel that it is impossible to theorize any phenomenon such as family, culture, law, religion, and ecology without a reference to the state. The state impacts on the lives of individuals in a way no other institution can do. The state has been considered as a problematic institution. The theorists are unable to decide when states first arose or what states actually are. The trajectory of the state involves a long and checkered journey from tribal communities, city communities, city states of Greece and Rome feudal societies, absolute sovereign states to fascist states, communist states, and welfare states. Some define the state in terms of morality, while others see it as an instrument of exploitation. Some regard it simply as an aspect of society, still others as a synonym for government. The state has even been viewed as a unique and separate association which stands apart from social institutions. There are also metaphysical and quasi religious interpretations of the state. Some point towards the legitimacy of the state, while some to the character of power it enjoys. Yet, we must define the state in order to grapple with its so called problematic. If politics is all about who gets what, when, and how, then the state becomes the executive agency for the same. In simplistic terms, the state could be defined in terms of its most basic features of territoriality, population, government, and sovereignty. For a better comprehension, all these elements need to be analyzed in the present context of globalization. The state may be defined as a system of relationship which defines the territory and membership of a community, regulates its internal affairs, conducts relations with other states, and provides it with identity and cohesion. It consists of institutions and processes which are extremely various and complex, presiding over different spheres of the community, which distribute different social goods according to different principles, as said by Jordan 1985. On the other hand, states may also be viewed more microscopically as configuration of organizations and actions that influence the meaning and methods of policies for all groups and classes in society. The state to the state, the state to the statists is persistent, omnipotent, and even arbitrary as in this perspective. The society is seen as non resistant, inactive, and submissive. Among the many questions which provoke debate on the state, Evers Bob Jessop in 1990 are: is the state itself best defined by its legal form, its coercive capacities, its institutional composition and boundaries, its internal operations and modes of calculation, its declared aims, its functions for the broader society of its sovereign place in the international system? Is it a thing, a subject, a social relation, or simply a construct which helps to orient political action? Is statelessness a variable, and if no, what are its central dimensions? What is the relationship between state and civil society, the public and private, state power and micro power relations? Can the state be studied on its own? Should it be studied as part of the political system, or can it only be understood, and if so, what are its sources and limits? Jessop feels that any general definition of the state would need to refer to the state discourse as well as state institution. Not all forms of micro-political organizations can be termed as state-like, nor can the state simply be equated with governments, law, bureaucracy, a coercive apparatus, or another political institution. The state indeed is a continuous concept in political theory, observes Neera Chandokhe, as any inquiry into the state is value laden. Political theorists have been preoccupied with conceptualizing a state which could be capable of realizing conditions favorable to human nature, but no definition ever has been able to capture the state in its entirety. It is extremely difficult to define the state. David Easton has spoken about futility of conceptualization of the state, as in his view, it just leads to needless debates and a kind of conceptual morass. In fact, Easton has claimed that scientific political theory requires clarity, and therefore it is better to abstain from using the term state altogether. In 1981, however, he did change his stance and commented that many of our thoughts that had been polished of a quarter of century ago have now risen from the grave to haunt us once again. Nikos Paultons has described the state as an indecipherable mystery. John Hoffman maintains that although Paultons argues that the state seeks to maintain the cohesion of a class divided society, he does not tell us what the state actually is. The definition of the state as institutionalized political power is circular, since what is political is never identified independently of the state. Paultos refers to the state as a material condition of a relation between classes, but insist that it is not reducible to these relationships. Nietzsche has described the state as the coldest of all cold monsters, the institution which tells lies in all the languages of good and civil. In the words of John Ray in 1981, the state could be classified as a parasite serving the interests of the influential. It could be described as a mystification for only apparently representing general interest of the economic base responding to and developing forces of production. The state is an ideal collective capitalist standing alongside capital and sustaining its patterns of accumulation. Some scholars like Nozick go on to contest the very need of the state. Nozick says that the fundamental question of political philosophy, one that precedes questions about how the state should be organized, is whether there should be any state at all. Why not have anarchy? It has been observed that since the anarchist theory, if tenable, undercuts the whole subject of political philosophy. It is appropriate to begin political philosophy with an examination of its major theoretical alternative. According to Nozick, in an anarchy pressed by spontaneous groupings, mutual protection associations, division of labor, market pressures, economies of scale, and rational self interest, there arises something very much resembling a minimal state. In the words of Christopher W. Morris, the state is characterized in terms of a number of interrelated features, namely continuity in space and time. The state is a set of political organizations whose institutions endure over time. This is the first point. And second point, transcendence. The state's institutions do not constitute it, they are its agent. Third one, political organizations. There are institutions, there are institutions through which the state acts. The authority. This is the next point, the authority. This is the next point, authority. Authority, the sovereign is the ultimate. So, the sovereign is the ultimate source of political authority in its territory. Allegiance. Citizens owe allegiance to the state and the state has a strong loyalty towards them. Primarily, as we discussed a couple of seconds ago, the state can be understood through an analysis of its basic features of territory, population, sovereignty, and government. This means that a state exists in a geographically identifiable territory within which there exists a population, many of whom could be classed as citizens. The modern state overrules all other powers within a given territory through its institutions of bureaucracy, judiciary, and military. Within the given territory, the state claims hegemony over all the other groups and associations through its sovereign government. The state thus could be defined in terms of its monopoly of control over means of violence, territoriality and sovereignty, constitutionality, impersonal. So that point we have to keep in mind, impersonal power, public bureaucracy, authority, legitimacy, and citizenship. So, David Held et al. In 1983 opined that in modern Western political thought, the idea of the state is often linked to the notion of an impersonal and privileged legal or constitutional order with the capability of administering and controlling a given territory. This notion found its earliest expression in ancient Rome, but it did not become a major object of concern until the early development of European state system from 16th century onwards. Max Weber, who is generally known for his ideal construction of bureaucracy, actually gave a systematic theory of state too. He attributed specific characteristics such as territoriality, violence, and legitimacy to describe states. For him, bureaucratic form of organization was the defining element of modern state. He tried to create an ideal type of state that was essentially a bureaucratic state. In fact, his analysis gave an insight into the relationship between the state and administration. Weber's analysis, as has been observed, assumes the existence of a strong, autonomous, and formally rational state, whose form varies from nation to nation. The functions of this state would be performed through an accountable bureaucracy, but the reality of democratic control of bureaucracies is always problematic. For whole societies, only the market can provide an adequate mechanism for their rational coordination. However, both bureaucracy and markets merely express the power structure of society, a structure with no moral justification but one which formal rationality clashes with legitimacy. David Held points out that Max Weber drew extensively from Marxist writing, albeit critically. Weber believed that it was simply misleading to conflate problems concerning the nature of administration in itself with the problems concerning the control of the state apparatus. The modern state, unlike its predecessors, has a capability of monopolizing the legitimate use of violence within a given territory. The state maintains complaints within a given territory. Its web of agencies and institutions find their ultimate sanction in the claim to the monopoly of coercion. This coercion is legitimized by a belief in the justifiability or legality of his monopoly. Political order, David held, observes, is not achieved through common value system or general respect for authority of the state or legitimacy or by complex web of interdependencies between political, economic and social institutions and activities which divide power centers and which create multiple pressures to comply. The specificity of the state lies in the fact that the state, by codifying the dominant power relations in society, gives to these power relations fixity and thereby to society its stability. As a set of specific political branches, the state bestows legitimacy upon a set of hegemonic social relations because it recognizes them and codifies them through legal acts. The state possesses the capacity to select, categorize, crystallize, and arrange power in the formal codes and institutions. Both Klaus Hofe and Jürgen Habermas analyze state in terms of legitimation. Writers like Habermas have held the view that in the conflict between the true nature of the state and ideology, the state as the caretaker of society would sooner or later create a crisis of legitimacy of the state itself. As per Jurgen Habermas, increased state activity in economic and other social relations is one of the major characteristics of contemporary capitalism. In the interest of avoiding economic crisis, government and the state shoulder an increasing share of the cost of production. But the state's decisions are not based merely on economic considerations. Thus, The capitalist state must act to support the accumulation process and at the same time act if it is to protect its image as fair and just to conceal what it is doing. If mass loyalty is threatened, tendency towards legitimation crisis is established. Sovereign statehood thus depends on territoriality, fixed locations, and supreme authority over land and space. But the pivotal role the pivotal role of the state in globalizing capitalism has at the same time threatened this very characteristics of sovereignty. If we look at the developments in the post 1970 period, it becomes clear that traditional meaning of sovereignty versus territoriality, territoriality has undergone change. Since the 1970s, the International Monetary Fund (IMF), the World Bank, and the World Trade Organizations (WTO) have enforced more authoritative measures on the monetary and fiscal policies of less developed member countries. The structural adjustment program has forced these countries into reforms and depend their dependency on globalizing corporations. So, some scholars believe that there is a real crisis of nation state. Sudhita Kaviras in 1995, in the context of India, observes that there would be a crisis of nation state. The central contradiction of the history of Indian national state seems to be between the logic of economic development and logic of political identities. Hope you got the information. Enjoy the session. Enjoy the day. Thank you.